Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back in the Gumbo Pot with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 158, Gumbo Live, the number one Tuesday night Facebook live talk show in Long Island, New York, dedicated to board games. Our special guest tonight, Dan Patriss, co-host of the Geek All Stars. Co-host? Is it really co-host or is he the host? We'll see, because our buddy Chris Kirkman has been missing a lot lately, but that's okay. He's also designer of a celebrity scenario for Frosthaven. We're going to talk about that tonight. Hit us up on social media, on Twitter, or on Facebook, or on Bluesky at Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat, crew. Hey, quick show note before I bring Dan in. SouthernGameFest.com. The tickets are going live October 1st. If you have never been before, it'll be your chance October 1st. And of course, we've got some special surprises if you get your tickets, because you just might get your name pulled, thanks to a lot of great sponsors from Talent Strikes and from Weird Draft Games. So make sure you sign up, www.southerngamefest.com. But enough blather. Let's get right to our special guest. It's Dan Patriss. What's up, Dan?
Hey, how are you, BJ? You've always been number one in my heart.
Oh, thank you, man. Long Island, right? Number one.
Absolutely.
Tuesday night.
Number one Tuesday night show in Long Island for sure.
Tuesday night, Facebook Live, dedicated to board gaming at 8:30. So yeah, it's a very limited window there that we're claiming. I'd like to say long time no see, but I practically talk to you every day.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny when you think about things like that. Like when somebody mentions, I saw BJ the other day. I'm like, yeah, I talk to BJ every day. And it's like, you don't even think about it, because we just do kind of between playing on BGA and then just chatting on, on private messages and stuff. It's just, it's fun. Like when the world is a different place nowadays than when we were growing up, where you have so many friends. BJ, have we ever even met in real life?
We have. You came by the booth when I was working Gray Fox, and you and
me and Rob
from the Perfect Ping Pong.
Yep, and we played Champions of Midgard.
No, Reavers.
Oh, Reavers of Midgard. Yes.
And I started to teach, and then I got called away, and Carlos finished it up. But yeah, I've got pictures of you guys playing the game. That's right. That's the one and only time that we met.
But and that's the thing. Like I feel like we've been friends for 6 or 7 years and met the one time. It's funny.
Yep. Now you've been on the show a couple of times, and also we used to, during COVID, we did a lot of that Friday night gaming. Remember our marathon sessions of Charterstone?
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to bring Steve in real quick too, so we can chat with Steve. But Steve, this is what we would do. We'd get really close on Charterstone to finishing. We'd have like 4 or 5 turns, and Dan would start sending out the text. Okay, Friday night, that's it. And we would just run through the scenario. It would only take us like 20 minutes, but there was something about getting close to the end of each scenario that we really wanted to get to that next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something about the way those turns go too, and it was man, I really miss playing that too, because we played. I think did we play 2?
We did 2 full campaigns of Charterstone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few things. So a lot of times, and it's one of the things that you always talk about online gaming, about publishers and the value of online gaming, things like BGA. Now, does it sell copies or does it not sell copies? And overwhelmingly, it sells more copies than not. But a game like Charterstone, the only bad part about that is when we play Charterstone online, 2 full playthroughs, it's killed me from wanting to play that ever again. Like maybe now, because it's been a few years, maybe I would start a new one, because it is a real fun game for sure.
I actually soloed one. With randos, because you could do that when we were playing the app. So I did one of those, and then Jared and I started one. We got to game 9 or 10, and he tapped out, so we didn't quite finish. But we used the recharge back on that one, because I had actually done another camera. So I think I have all total probably 4 full plays of Charterstone. Wow. And Steve, Dan, and I actually did not 1 but 2 full plays of My City. Do you remember that?
Oh my God! Wow. Yes.
We went through the whole campaign, not once but twice.
Yep. And that was another one where once I was done, I was like, I even said, I was like, guys, please don't start another one, because I'll feel compelled to do it. But I was just like, all right, I'm just done. It was fun.
Now, this is your city now. This is your city now. This is no longer.
Steve, I did a full campaign all at Dice Tower with my wife, and then I came back and did. We would sit down and we'd do 3 back to back to back, and we did that each day while we were at Dice Tower. And then I got back. I did the 2 campaigns with Dan and them. I'm done. My City, I don't even want to look at it anymore. Nope, that's it.
Yeah, that's why the crew I was so bummed when it bugged out because we had played literally for at least 9 months or a year on BGA trying to complete it, and then it bugged out on Don, and now it's been so long that I'm like, guys, let's start another one. I really want to start another one. So when we started up another one, so hopefully we'll have some fun. I scratch that itch of the co-op trick taker.
Yeah. But you know what's funny is I own all 3 of those games. So yeah. And my, I can't remember if I did My City with you guys first and then did the one with Linda, or it might have been the other way around. But yeah, I actually own all those games. They're not. I don't think BGA cannibalizes. I've actually bought games because of BGA. I really have. Is that Evan checking in?
It's Evan checking in.
Hey, Evan checking. What's up? Yeah, I mean, I've never sat down and counted, but have either of you counted how many games you've bought because you played them on BGA?
No, but I know I could tell you the last few were like Far Away and
Sea Salt and Paper was one for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was me too. Yep.
Veil of Eternity, that's what I was trying to think. That one also.
Okay.
So I mean, some of those games, and if I could ever find a copy of Captain Flip, I'll certainly grab that too.
Captain Flip was another one.
Games are perfect for
Captain Flip was one. Res Arcana, I think, was on BGA. Isn't it on BGA?
Sure.
Yeah, I actually got a copy because I never could quite get it on BGA, so I bought a copy of Res Arcana. So I'd have to go through, but at one point I think I listed out like 8 or 10 games that led to me buying them.
And you could actually do a whole. This here's an idea for you. This is free for you now, BJ. A good idea of what makes a game easy to teach or learn a BGA, and then just others just not, where some of them you just don't either grasp or don't even enjoy, because people are raving about River of Gold and it just did not click with me. Like I just did not have any fun playing it. But some others that I learned on there, even heavier, has nothing to do with the weight, because sometimes even those heavier ones I absolutely love, but for whatever reason, it's a game that I know I want to play in real life, but I have no more. I don't want to play it on BGA because it just didn't grasp me, but I want to try it in real life.
Steve and I talk about it on the show sometimes, Steve, that sometimes we just tap out because we just need to learn it physically and then come back to it. Right, Steve?
Verla has said that too. When we have like ChuckCon or something, it's like, let's get the ones that we want to play on BGA. Somebody brings that along, you play it in person. So it has sold a copy, but now you can play it like that on BGA, in addition to bringing it to your monthly game night or something like that. So it could be a once in a while thing on the table, but an everyday thing on BGA.
I'm definitely going to get River of Gold played at BGG Con because I want to play it online. It seems like a game that would fit very well with BGA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the last time we played it, Riddle talks about this on our show where he's like, yeah, when I play certain things, I just clicking. Like it's not really.
That's what I did.
It's not getting anything, just clicking. And I read the rules. Usually with a new game, I'll read the rules, I'll watch a couple of videos, and then I'll try to play it. And then sometimes you just get it, and then sometimes you don't. Or sometimes, like Federation, I played with Riddle, and I spent about an hour explaining it to him on Skype, while we were playing a 2-player game. And we played like 2 games. I played another one with a couple of with him and I think Ben. And it just didn't click, but he'd love to play it in person. And that's definitely one of those heavier Euros where I think it definitely benefits for playing in person.
I've tried it. You and I played it, but I just clicked around. I don't get it. I don't get it. Rivers of Gold, I definitely want to try. The one that I just clicked around the first time and then I picked up the second time was Captain Flip, because the name of the game was Captain Flip. So the first time I played with you guys, I flipped the card every single time. Yeah. But that's what you got to do, right? And I think I scored negative 100 points or something like that. It was just terrible. Right. So, but
it's funny how that game, the more you play it too, there's definitely evolves a little bit of a strategy to it. At first you're like, you don't ever want to get gunners, just get rid of gunners. Then you're like, well, you do want to get gunners because that's
push points. That's 5 points. You want to get gunners and flip them back and get gunners again.
Yes.
Yep. It's gunners. It's such a straight, simple game. Beautiful. Yeah.
So I didn't realize this because BGA, it's the BGA Horcrux, whatever you want to call it. There's certain rules that you don't know because BGA does it in the, behind the scenes. Yes. So my version of Captain Flip comes from France, so it doesn't have English rules. So my French is okay, but not good enough to understand everything every single time. I didn't realize that. I thought the gunners was if you get 3 gunners on your board, you lose, like automatically.
Oh, automatically, right.
So that's how that's how I've been teaching it. And then I played on BGA the other day, and I got 3 gunners, and I didn't lose. Like I had a chance to flip it back after that.
Yep.
So, I also messed up another rule when I was teaching it because my French is so poor. I read it wrong. I thought that the lookout had to be on the top of the stack,
Right.
but the lookout just has to be the highest card
the highest
on
on
the stack.
its stack.
On
It doesn't
its
have to
stack.
be in the-
I did not
It
realize
doesn't have
that.
to be in the top square. It doesn't have to be in the top
Ooh.
square. It has to be in the highest square occupied in that column.
So we were playing on hard mode, Steve, because I'm teaching my wife and all my family members. I'm like, oh, you got to save that last spot so you can put your lookout there, which is true, by the way. You do want to put the
Right.
lookout there. But you don't
But
have
if you get a
to.
lookout, something like on a third spot of a 4 row, then maybe you just start getting everything else.
That's
Yeah,
true.
You know?
exactly.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so some of those little rules with BGA, because it does it automatically for you. It's not something we could do. Hey, I did want to talk, since we're talking Rivers of Gold, I did want to talk about your charity, which is Rivers of Gold for Gamers for Cures, and it's a great charity. It's one I like to pump up every year. So tell us about this charity that you run, and I think it's coming up, right, Dan?
So this year's event, it's always the second weekend of November, which I guess is always Veterans Day. I think that's when Veterans Day always is that second weekend. It's so this year it's it's 11/9, so it's November 9th this year. And it's basically, it was a 24-hour board game marathon, but we've kind of scaled it back because,
we're getting old.
We're getting old. Nobody really wants to be up for 24 hours. There is every year we do like a little I do a survey after, and a couple of people were like, oh, bring it back to 24, but the vast majority were like, oh, it's just fine. But anyway, so way back when my daughter's got Turner syndrome, which is a full or partial deletion of the second X chromosome in women, that and she got diagnosed at about 4 or 5 years old. And I wanted to bring awareness to help raise money for Turner Syndrome Society of the Carolinas in the US. So as we were doing a 5K in Raleigh, I was trying to think of what we could do. And I knew that there was Extra Life, but Extra Life was really only for video gaming at the time. So I was like, well, why don't I create a charity? And let's get a nice 24-hour board game marathon going. And I wasn't sure how well it was going to be received, but I knew people would want to do it because gamers, I mean, BJ, you and Steve, I mean, any excuse to game, we're there. So, I mean, it was a good excuse to play games, especially for 24 hours. So now we do it every year. We have marathoners that will, donate this year, donate about $125. You donate, and I give a swag bag, and then you get access to the store for the full 18 hours. The store doesn't basically open until 10 or 11, but you'll have access to the store from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then you also get a swag bag from me. I provide meals for all the marathoners, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a t-shirt, and like I said, the swag bag. And then we also have throughout the day, we have twice a day, we have these door prizes where anybody that comes in the store will be able to be active. Basically what happens is usually it's in the afternoon and then the evening. We kind of just decide on the day when we're going to do it. I roll out a table. I throw a whole bunch of games on there. Everybody in the store gets a raffle ticket, and then I just draw until all the games are gone. I do that twice a day. And then we also have what we call the wall.
The wall.
The wall is everybody's favorite thing. So we have about 90 to 100, depending on the year, 90 to 100 games on this raffle wall and they're basically like either just single games, or we have, basically a big bundle. So for instance, 1 year we had everything from Sentinels of the Multiverse. I think Justin from Restoration is going to send me a Return to Dark Tower bundle with some expansions and the minis and such. So we'll have that as one thing. And what you do is we have this big, big boxes where everybody buys dollar tickets. You put your name and number on $1 tickets, and you put into what you want to win. So basically, you get to choose what games you want to win. It's just a great raffle. Also, the way we do it too is the wall goes up at the end of October, so you've got a few weeks to buy these dollar raffle tickets at the store. However, you can also go to the Gamers Armory website. I think it's just gamersarmory.com. I've got a link to it there on the board.
I bought tickets last year. It was easy.
Yeah. They make it so easy to buy tickets. And every year we've got multiple people that win. Actually, last year, Berkey over at Game Toppers LLC donated some play mats, and I had to ship a play mat out to somebody who, because somebody remote won it. This year I made sure we're going to have it on the wall again. So I made sure I kept the box that they came in so that I can actually ship it instead of having to make a box myself, because I had thrown the boxes out last year. So it's great. It's so much fun. We have people, the foot traffic is great. It's just a lot of fun. And again, playing board games just all day long. Sometimes we have some demos there. It's just a lot of fun. And I always say I'm hoping to be able to play some games, but I'm always kind of running around, whether getting getting one of the meals or taking care of anything people ask for and taking pictures and stuff. But it's
So how
great.
long has this been going on?
So this will be the 11th year that we've done it. We took off for a couple years for COVID, and then it was just kind of hard to get things back and get games, get donations and such. So last year was the first year back from COVID, but we started in 2011. So this will be 11th year. We've raised $160,000 to date.
Wow.
So it's just great. Basically, we made $12,500 last year. And it was we just hope to be right around there this year as well.
And y'all are a 501c nonprofit, so donations are tax deductible, right?
Yep. So if you go to the link that I have on the Gamers for Cures website, I actually have a QR code there that you can go to donate. You can print out your tax receipt right there. So everything is tax free.
Very good.
And it's great. So it's nice and easy. These days with taxes, man, anything we could deduct off our taxes is amazing. So it's great to be able to print it out right there and just hold on to that for your taxes. And again, let me just stress, if you're local or if you want to come into town, we still have plenty of spots left for marathoners. I mean, I've got things in the swag bag, games from Restoration Games, Arcane Wonder, 25th Century, Portal, Ape, Devere, Van Ryder. They're all games, and the swag bag is going to be gigantic. We had a great swag bag last year. This year, I almost I haven't turned anybody away because I never want to turn away donations. But our swag bag is almost getting too big. So again, just it's so.
And
much
that's a swag bag, T-shirt, and meals for every marathoner.
Yep, for every marathoner. So we usually have we usually cap at about 50 for marathoners, and we usually get right about there. So yeah, and it's just a $125 or more donation, and let us know. Send me the your sign up, and then pay the donation or make the donation, and then you could be a marathoner. And then we basically all day long we just take donations there. We usually have like a little package that you can get, a T-shirt and make some donations, and usually some raffle tickets on the day of. But it's great. The board game industry between publishers and gamers are just so good, so good to us. And it's great. I hopefully next year I'll be able to get back to Gen Con because, the secret always is, the publishers they don't really want to leave Gen Con with anything. So on Sunday, it's a lot easier to get donations than it is to email somebody.
That's true.
Hey, can you send me a game? On Sunday, when they know who you are, they're like, oh, here you go. Take some stuff.
Flash that card, flash the 501, and hey, we got a box of games. Take it back with you.
Yep.
That's great. Great. Yeah. Steve, what do you think? Great charity, great charity.
It's a great charity, great opportunity to play games, just great people coming together to do this. This is great, Dan. Good on you.
And it's a lot of fun. We've got people, last year we had people from Minnesota, people from Florida, people will fly in for it. I'm hoping at some point to get Justin Jacobson maybe next year, said he might come up. And at some point we're going to have the Fleeples. Matt, Ben, and Adam from Motor City Game Works, we call them the Fleeples. They're going to get down to a Gamers for Cures one of these years. So I'm hoping to have them down. And I keep trying to get Marty and Tony and Rob and Patrick came one year. So if you guys ever want an excuse to visit Carolina, come on up.
Sounds
done and done.
But so we've had actually for the last two seasons, it's been funny. We've had just a long list of GDonk members. The game designers of North Carolina. Do you get any of those GDonk members that come over?
Oh yeah, like almost all of them end up. There's so many of them. I can't say almost all of them, but we do get a whole lot of them because it's basically where they have a lot of their meetings too. Is at the Games Armory. So they usually go to a lot of the different FLGSs around Raleigh and I think even in Nashville sometimes, which is nowhere near Raleigh. But a lot of times we'll get a lot of those guys are pretty local gamers and have been around for years.
Everyone that we've had on the show so far has been great. So it's been a joy. You guys have a great group over there.
It is a hotbed for designers for sure around here.
Speaking of designers, Dan, you've got a story to tell. Hey, all you Frosthaven, Gloomhaven people, you're talking to one of the celebrity designers of Frosthaven scenarios. How did that come about?
So I've always been one of the biggest fans of Gloomhaven. Famously, people may not remember, but we always do, and BJ for the last 3 years has been on the Geek All Stars for our top 11 to try and buy for Gen Con. So for 3 years in a row, way back when, I want to say it was like 16, 17, and 18, I had Gloomhaven on my to try list before anybody even knew who Isaac or Gloomhaven was. I've just been such a huge proponent of the game. I've just loved it ever since it came out. So I guess Isaac just kind of added me to that list of about 20 or so people that he got as guest designers. And there's all sorts of people in the industry. Even Justin Jacobson, we talked about on the last Geek All Stars. I kind of did just kind of we did designer diary. I had just a great time designing it. I have 2 scenarios in Frosthaven. I think it's number 87 and number 88. It's in the base game. Some of these, the guest designers, some of them are kind of random scenarios like that you come across, whether it be just when you get a random scenario from a chest, or picking up a treasure. You may get one of those random scenarios, or you encounter it through whether the outpost event or road event, you may encounter it. So I can't remember how mine is. I think it's an outpost event that you can encounter mine. And, it's been a little bit mixed what we have because like some of the others, so a lot of the guest designers, myself included, we kind of went a little nuts with some of the rules in them and stuff like that. So some people really like the rules. Mine is, without spoiling anything, the thing with Gloomhaven and Frosthaven is a lot of times people are just YOLO all over the map, just going in here, opening this door, going in that. Well, I kind of put this thing into place in one of my scenarios where you really need to be prepared for the final room.
Is it a green ring that has a power of a lantern?
That's right. Yep. You got to find the lantern. You got to find the green lantern, and then you open the final door. But if you go into that final room as YOLO, it's going to be a really hard one. And people have kind of complained about how hard that final room can be because there's a situation where you can lose, and there's something that you got to do in a final room. But it's not necessarily hard if you actually have planned for it. And it scales pretty well for 2, 3, and 4 players. It may be a little difficult to, again, if you YOLO it, it could be a little difficult.
Right.
However, it is a lot of fun, and the story is pretty cool. I had a lot of fun. And there is since it's a 2 scenario, there is a boss in the second one who can be a little nutty as far as rules go, and I apologize for that. I got a little carried away with that, but it is a fun fight for sure.
What kind of direction did Isaac give you?
So
good question.
He kind of gave us pretty much carte blanche where he asked us, or for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but he asked kind of like what my idea was for the scenario. So I kind of outlined everything, and I had like 2 spreadsheets and 3 pages of notes and everything else. And he said, "Oh, this is a great idea. Go with it." And he gave me a couple of like ideas of things to scale back and such. And they kind of changed how they wanted the boss scenario. So my second scenario, which was kind of a little bit longer of a scenario, they kind of tuned it down to just more of a 2-room boss scenario rather than just kind of the longer one. So I may see about trying to print out what it was originally, because some people who play Frosthaven and Gloomhaven, they love extra scenarios. So I may actually kind of put it up somewhere so that if anybody wants to actually play how I originally designed it, they could. So I'm sure there's a scenario maker. There's got to be tools that can be made that I can kind of actually put it out there for how it was originally. But it's just but it's cool. So of course Isaac knows, he's got formulas for everything. So like as far as the difficulty in kind of the monsters, and in what you can do per, like how long it can be, how many monsters per player count, and then he kind of tweaks it as far as after and I did a whole lot of places. I think I played mine about 40 or 50 times, those 2 scenarios, with all sorts of different player counts. Again, when we were doing this, it was right in the middle of heart of COVID, if I remember correctly, when we were putting the finishing touches. So we had time on your hands to sit there and play these scenarios a million times. Sure. But yeah, I just wanted to make it good. And so hopefully, I'd love to hear anybody out there, if anybody has played, my 2 scenarios. I do searches online, and I watch people play. Mostly it's easier to find them on YouTube as they do it solo, because those are kind of who you see more of putting up, because people that are playing it solo.
So you've seen people do the scenario on YouTube?
Yep, I sure have.
That's kind of a cool thrill.
Yeah, it is pretty cool when you're like, wow, yeah, that was pretty good.
That's my thing.
Yeah, I was like, and it seemed to be pretty well received from that. But again, I'm not perfect. I would love, hopefully, if he ever does anything Haven again, I get the opportunity to do more scenarios, because it was a blast, and the ideas are just flowing after you play more Frosthaven, like other things that you really want to do with some scenarios. So
well, I hate to be the spoiler, but he did announce privately the 3rd campaign for it. There's Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, and the 3rd one, Steve, of course, is Swamp Haven. It's set in Louisiana, so
as it should be.
I can't wait to see those scenarios come up. So Dan, do you get a designer credit? Like, are you a designer on BGG now? Because
I probably could. I think you have to like you just click on something and then email them, and I could get a designer credit for it. For sure. And because you're listed in the rulebook as a designer, and you did a couple scenarios, so absolutely I should be able to have a designer credit for that.
Steve, you got any questions about the Frosthaven scenario there?
No, this is very cool, and I love the idea that it's like a super secret pop-up menu. All of a sudden, this happens, and welcome to Dan's little part of the world.
And I can't lie, I'm not gonna lie, like it is fun, like if you're at an FLGS and people are like, oh, have you ever played Frosthaven? And then sometimes you want to be like, oh, have I? And let me tell you.
Yeah, that is a good point.
It's very cool.
I hadn't thought about that. All right, so Dan, you and I both got speaking of big giant box games, we both got our River Valley Glassworks in today. And you and I have a connection to this because the Fleeples practically live on the Geek All Stars.
Yes.
Right? I mean, how many jackets do they have by now?
Riddle is probably my, he's really my second or third chair right now. And listen, Matt and Ben, and especially Adam, you couldn't find, outside of you two guys, you couldn't find better people in this world. They are the absolute salt of the earth. I love those guys.
That's why he's a pro there, Steve.
That's right. Smooth.
I've been friends with those guys for about 10 years. They do amazing designs. They've got more. They're constantly designing. They've got more in the can now. They got a big game coming out at Essen. But it's just to watch them work, and then and what's cool about having friends like that is sometimes they'll even reach out and be like, hey, what do you think about this sort of either mechanical or we're going in this direction with this game, or like with Beyond the Horizon, which is coming out at Essen. I even looked over the rule book, gave some edit notes, and how things would sound if they would sound confusing. Because the thing that I find with a lot of games is that when you're reading the rule book, especially heavier games, whether it be dungeon crawlers or heavier Euros, when you're looking over things or you're setting them up, when and every group has this guy. I don't know if either one of you guys is this guy. You have the rules guy. Like there's always the one guy or gal that it's your job to read the rules, and then you're the teacher. So I'm often the rules person. So when I'm reading it and then I'm setting it up and I'm playing it, even when you're playing solo, I'm like, how did this ever get past any sort of testing? This is written so poorly that nobody really looked at this and said, because when you're playing something for the first time, you have this many questions. You think to yourself, I'm not the only one who has this question for sure.
Right.
And then often you go later to BGG and you see that other people have these questions. So stuff like that always kind of, it burns my.
I understand it with prototypes that we have to deal with.
Oh, right.
A published game.
Yes.
I don't.
I'm not talking about prototypes, because generally anybody that sends us prototypes, because we get those a lot, where they'll say, hey, if you notice any typos or anything that's confusing, please by all means send it to us, because we're constantly updating the final copies for the Kickstarter or for the final release. And and then that's what I did when I read over the rules for this one, is to just help them out a little bit with something I thought was maybe a little bit confusing, or some of the wording and stuff. So it was that was actually stuff like that is real cool to get the
if you have a middleweight, if you have a middleweight game or lower, middleweight all the way down to light, I don't understand why rules editors try to reinvent the wheel. Go buy any Queen game, go buy any of them, pull that rule book and see how they do their rule books, because their rule books, to me, at least for maybe it's just the way I learn games, but their rule books are just perfect. It's left side, right side with little reminders. Important rules are bolded. How many times, Dan or Steve, have you played a game and you missed a rule, and then you go and it's there on the first page or the second page, but it's just in little tiny, I almost said font, but your buddies.
It's Chris would get mad about that.
12-point typeface, so something. And I'm like, this is one of the most key rules in the entire rule book, and you don't even have it bolded. Like, ow.
Yeah, and then sometimes you have things that are here and things that are here when they should have just easily been together under one thing, because the rules definitely go together. But you're right. I mean, the perfect example that I always think of is, like, remember the rules for Dominion? I think they always had the same thing where it was in the what is it, the margin? They have like the extra, this is a
little reminders.
Yeah. Yep. And Queen is really good at that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I played a game the other day, Steve, and the rule that was really critical, they had stuffed it into the components list, right? Because it related to the component. But it was
Right.
also a key rule to the game. It's nowhere else, anywhere in the rule book. It's only
But
in the component
they've
list.
played it so often themselves as the designers, they know exactly where to look in the rule book.
Yeah.
The problem
Mhm.
is someone who's picking up the game for the first time does not know where to look for it unless the flow is natural and smart. There's rule blindness that we've got that when people have kind of locked in and they know and they presume that every gamer will know like they did. They designed the damn thing.
Mhm.
We streamed a game that was a prototype, or maybe it wasn't a prototype. It had been published. I think it was a prototype though. But we streamed it, and the designer was in the chat while we were streaming on Twitch.
Mhm.
And he's like, he did help us out, by the way. But he was like, and we read the rules. Sometimes we do that. Jared and I will just pop open a game and we'll learn the rules while we got 3 or 4 hours to kill on Twitch anyway. So
Mhm.
we're just gonna do it. And the designer was like, "Oh man, I wish I had seen this video before," because he's in the chat going, I totally see why why you did this in the rules, but
Right.
that's not the rule. It's this. And he said, I got to clarify that. I'm like, you're watching a live test of 2 guys read a rule book and apply it. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
not like we're newbies. We've been playing games for years.
No. But you've played enough games that you know that rule could go a couple of different ways. So you're trying to figure out which is the one that makes most logical sense, not what they intended.
It's true.
That's tough.
Yep. And one of the best, blind, quote unquote, blind play tests you can do is when you get, the early copies of the game, you just throw it down to 2 gamers who don't know anything about the game or want to play the game and just sit there. You don't say a word. You just let them open up the box and let them play. And then you just kind of take notes as to, what they missed. Should they have missed it? Or maybe it's just something that they did a bonehead, or is something that you need to fix in that rule book before you get to that final, you press that button.
When we would play test with Steve Finn, that he was so good at doing that. He would just say, I don't want to tell you. I'm just listening. I'm just an observer.
Listening.
And then when it
Well,
wasn't working, he would jump in and say, do this. And then shut back down again.
A designer sent me a game that's coming out on Kickstarter next month. And there's, at least in the box that he sent me, there's no solo rules. So I did play the game, but I also wanted to play it some more and play it solo. I'm not really a solo player, but for purposes of a review or a Kickstarter, I will try it because I know that people care about, solo games. So I try to play them. Like, there's no solo. I looked on BGG, still no solo. So I was like, let me try one. So I designed a solo thing and I play tested it 5 times. I don't know how you did it 50, by the way. After the 5th play test, I was bored out of my mind. Like, I can't do this anymore. But I had to handwrite the rules and then type them up. And as I'm typing them up, I'm going, oh my God, I'm that guy. I know how to play the game and I'm writing the rules as if I already know how to play the game.
Right.
I got to write these rules like
Yes.
So I could just, in fact, I'm almost tempted, Dan. I might talk to him because it's a baseball game and you like baseball.
Oh, I think I know what. Oh, no, it's probably not the game I'm thinking of because that game does have solo rules. It's coming up on Kickstarter soon.
Oh, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Bat Flip Dynasty.
Yeah, Bat Flip Dynasty. That's the one.
Because he sent me some solo rules, I thought. Unless he sent me your solo rules, which is possible.
Oh my God, did he? Because he did tell me. No, he did tell me that I sent him the solo rules. By the way, super nice guy. But I sent him well, I had played the original one. I like this one better, by the way, than the original one. The original one was just like smash up with baseball, and you played against somebody else.
This one is really good. It's really
actually really good, Steve.
I haven't got a chance to cover it on the show, but I'm going to cover it on the next Munchkinland because it should be launching. Because I'm going to. It should be launching next week. So I was going to do a little preview on Munchkinland and then when it is live. But I mean, it's not big and crunchy GM like Lords of Baseball or something like that. No. But it distills it down to what you kind of want for a fun drafting, dice rolling, fun, quick, pretty quick to get in, pretty quick to get out. A really perfect filler.
The setting, Steve, is what I like. You are 5 players away from having just that Oakland A's late 80s run of 5 years in a row, right? Or the Dodgers in the 1980s, the Yankees in the 2000s. You're about to make this great run. You're 5 players away. And so me and Dan and you are competing with a set of cards to try to get those 5. But there's an economic engine because you have a franchise and you have a salary cap. And each year you got, but the way he did it, it's like, the franchise and the salary cap is so simple. It's like, it's not very fiddly. It's just throw another dollar on every player, and then decide, okay, how do I have enough money? Can I even draft another good player this year? I might have to
and then trying to get some of the combos
prospects
together. Yeah, well, and then getting a prospect for the future to come up when you need them, and then just kind of the way things are going to fit in. And then you're trying to think about the different symbols that you're trying to cover as you're drafting, is not to have too many to fill at one time, but also being able to get to those runs. So there's some pretty cool strategy to it, but yet not overwhelming.
Well, hey, can I send you, if you don't mind, can I send you the solo rules if he didn't send them? I'd love to do that.
Yeah, send me. I'll take a look at them for sure.
Let's see if it. Yeah. So is that something you're interested in, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds very similar to something that Evan and I had been working on for a little while. Because my original proposal to him was not a baseball game where you're the players, but you're the GM, and it was about drafting, and it was about salary cap and stuff. And
do I remember this from ChuckCon last year? Didn't you guys kind of work on it a little bit?
Yep. Evan still has it. I've passed it along to him. He's really taken over. He was the lead on it throughout, and it kind of backburnered for me. But he's gone in the direction of more of a baseball sim kind of thing.
Well, here it is, Flip Dynasty, and it's one of those games that I like where you're assigning dice and you're trying to put them on there, and the dice are going to be the triggers for getting your players to have all these. And some of them, Dan, are just crazy combo.
Are you rolling the dice in the box like the ballpark?
Not for me, because
no. I just think that would be that's a fabulous little dice tower thing. If that's like the inside of your box, it's a stadium.
I wonder if it's going to have that, because the box I got sent was it's a thinner box. I'm pretty sure the box I got it's almost like the Villagers box.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so, we just got the prototype. All we have is the prototype version. So like the dice that I have are terrible. And Scott told me, look, don't worry, the dice are going to be.
I think he 3D printed out a bunch of dice for us.
Yeah,
and the same thing with the trophies for it. So it's just basically that's what you do with prototypes. You just try to get it out to as many people as you can. Sure. But I know those dice will be a lot better in the production for sure.
Well, this was really dumb of me, but I went on Twitch and I actually just streamed myself designing the solo variant.
That's awesome.
So you can actually watch it on Twitch. Like I'm just because I was like, my first thought was, oh, forget the rules. I'm just going to send him the video. And I ended up streaming it for like an hour or two. Cause you start tinkering. I'm like fiddling with rules. Well, let me try this again. Let me start this over again. So the video is probably a mess because I'm just talking to myself designing a game for 2 hours.
Stream of gumbo consciousness. Wow.
it was like a William Faulkner novel live.
Yeah. A paragraph that lasts 3 pages.
That's right.
It's a lot harder to do what you did than what I did for play testing Frosthaven scenarios. While it is long, like that game's already designed. I'm just tinkering with where things go, how hard rooms are, where things should go, and is it too strong for certain combos of characters and stuff, and just playing it. Right. You already know the rules of Frosthaven. You already know how it plays. So playing that solo, but coming up to rules, because I've tried to come up with solo versions, and I actually have, and this is where I should have had actually a designer credit, because the original Kingdoms of Valeria, I actually helped Isaiah design the solo.
Really?
Solo version of that. Yeah. So that's the original one. I think I'm still in the new rules of it as well. But that was a lot of fun to go back and forth, because I actually, way back when he was putting that out for the first time at Unpub, way back, probably about 10 years ago almost, up in Baltimore. I played it like a million times up there with him. He sent me back with it. He's like, and I'm tinkering want to hear what you think about solo. So I gave him a whole bunch of notes, and we were going back and forth, and then we just kind of hammered out the nice solo version, the original solo version. So that was that's a lot of fun, because there's so many different ways you can go with a solo version nowadays, especially. Do you make it an automa where you're basically playing it 2 players, or are you playing it just solo, which is just one person playing different things? Where like Arnak is. I guess Arnak has both, because it has an automa and it also has other solo things that you can do, where I'm pretty sure you're just playing and I can't remember.
So
I think it is just automa.
I had 2 goals. I wanted it to be playing it with somebody else, because that's the way I like to play it. And number 2, I wanted it to be as fiddly less as possible. Because I don't like solo where I have to look at this big old chart and go, oh yeah, I gotta do this and do this. I want it to be dumb, simple, dirt simple. So basically, I came up with the idea that you are this hotshot manager, right? And you've got you sign this new contract, but there's a AAA manager who's right behind you, and he's hot on your heels. You got 3 years to turn this franchise around, or the owner's going to ditch you to move up the AAA guy. So when you flip the other manager, it's basically a franchise. I didn't play test enough to determine if I could do it with a manager. Also, it's just a franchise, but their salary cap is half, rounded down, whatever the franchise is, because they're AAA, right? They don't have the same amount of players. And so there's a mechanic that gets rid of their players each year and also has a mechanic that drafts the players and drafts the dice. And it's dirt simple. You roll a 6-sided die and it takes care of it all for you. So I wanted it really simple. I wanted you to be focused on just the combos, but I wanted that AAA manager to be nipping on your heels. And whoever gets the most trophies at the end of 3 seasons, you determine if you keep your job or you get demoted to AAA.
So. It sounds real good, and it's exactly what you want out of a game like that, because with games like Bad Flip Dynasty, you're done playing it and you're kind of thinking of, other cards. Should I have kept this card or that card? And then, maybe after that game session, you're like, well, let me just see how these cards go together or see some more cards. And then being able to play it solo will give you that, will scratch that itch. So I can't remember what this price point is going to be, but I assume that it's probably either like 30 or 40 or something like that, which is going to be a good deal for the amount of cards and dice that you're going to have in this box. So this should be a good one to get in on.
You should check this out on Kickstarter, people, because the card stack is this big. The managers and the what do they call them? The franchises, another big stack of cards. And then if they upgrade the dice, like he says he's going to upgrade to the big size dice, and you've got the box that turns into the stadium. Yeah, this is going to be definitely worth it. So
yeah,
you got to check that out. Bat Flip Dynasty coming out. Oh, you found it. Yeah.
Just drop the link in.
You can get Kickstarter notified right there. Bat Flip Dynasty coming out on October 1st. I do have a video that where I go through, basically what the game is about. It's not a review per se, because, it's hard to review when things are in such flux with a project like this. This you're really supporting an indie game publisher. Scott's going to take the feedback during the campaign and make some changes, and
and he's changed even over the last few months. He's sent out a couple of changes where he kind of cleaned up a little bit of the playoffs to make it a little bit more fun, to keep people more interested for longer, because there could be, there were at times a couple of runaway leader problems. But the way he kind of changed it kept it a little bit more fun to continue to, keep everybody interested, rather than just somebody's like, what am I doing now? If you're playing with more.
That is Bat Flip Dynasty. We talked about everything else. I don't think we're going to get to the games we were supposed to talk about, because we got to, it's a board game show, and you know what that means. we got to play a board game, Dan.
Oh, here we go. I'm in.
All right. Sorry, we didn't get to
scratch that itch.
I wanted to talk about Pampero and landmarks, but we that's the way it is when you get Dan on the show. The Geek All Stars.
It's like listening to Geek All Stars, and you wonder why our shows are 3 hours long.
Steve, I'll give you the famous last words of Dan Patriss. This is gonna be a chill show, and Riddle, we got to keep this under 2 hours. When he says that,
every time.
How's that working out?
Oh, it never works out.
All right, so this game I call the Did You Know game. Did you know? And it's KNEAUX, of course. It's Did You Know? The Did You Know game. I'm going to ask a series of questions, one to Dan and then one to Steve. And the way this game works is that, Dan, I'm going to ask you the question. I'm not expecting you to know these answers. So I need you to bluff like you know the answers to these questions, okay? And you give the answer, and then Steve's got to either go with you or not. He'll get a point if he correctly guesses what your answer is, right? And you were right. He'll get 2 points if he thinks you are wrong and he's right.
Okay.
But he'll get 0 points if he doesn't match up with you. So,
okay.
Does that
I've
make
often
sense?
been called a fountain of useless knowledge. So hopefully,
hey, you might know the answers, but Steve and Dan, when it's your turn, you gotta
So
sell it.
Do we have to? I was just about to say, do we have to sell this, and then they're going to guess whether we were bluffing or not?
Well, the reason you want to sell it is because they get more points if they think you're wrong. So if I say, is water wet, and Dan says, nope, I've touched water, I'm absolutely positive it is not wet, and Steve says, Dan's wrong, water is wet. Steve, if you're right, water is wet, you get 2 points. If you go with Dan's answer and you're right, you only get 1 point.
Okay.
All right. And of course, the final round, we'll have to figure out exactly how many points the last question is going to be. because that's
which is the ultimate catch-up effect.
right. Yeah, we don't want a leader. We don't want a runaway leader here. Okay, are we ready? Do we understand the rules for Did You Know?
I think so.
Sure.
Okay, question number 1 goes to Dan. Dan,
Okay.
how many games with Long Island in the title or in the Board Game Geek database? Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I know of at least 2, so I'm going to go with 3.
Man, Dan's pretty confident there, Steve. Dan is pretty confident. Chat crew, if you're in the chat crew, you can play with us.
Okay.
Remember, if you agree with Dan, if Dan's right that there are 3 with Long Island in the title in the BGG database, and he's right and you're right, that's 1 point for you. If you say Dan is full of it and he's wrong, it's not 3, and you're right, you get 2 points. If you're wrong, you get no points.
Okay.
Steve, what do you think?
You gave me 5 choices. Dan gave 1 number. Statistically speaking, I'm going to get more bang for my buck if I disagree with Dan. So I got to say,
Unless you're wrong,
unless
Steve,
I'm wrong, but over the long haul, I think that might pay off. I'm going to go with the full of it part. I'm going to go with it.
Dan is full of it. Are you?
Yep.
He's from Long Island, Steve. Does that change your opinion? I'll give you a second chance.
My in-laws and my parents live on Long Island.
Nice.
I'm going to go with that.
Oh man.
Wonderful
Okay.
place.
I'm standing pat. I'm going to say it's not right. And if anything, if Dan knows of 2, maybe there's at least 1 more out there, so that makes it 4.
In the BGG database, there is Long Island, a fan expansion for Age of Steam. So that's 1.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the Long Island Project, which is also in the BGG database. By the way, it's a game that came out about 10 years ago that is all about mixing Long Island iced teas. That's the game.
Funny.
Okay.
But what's weird about it, if you click, well, don't click on it because I don't want you guys to cheat, but if you click on it and I'm like, this game doesn't sound that good. I mean, about just a 30-minute game about making Long Island iced teas. The designer is Dave Chalker, who designed Thunder Road Vendetta.
That's funny.
Wow.
He's a good designer too.
Don't drink and drive though. Don't drink and drive.
And don't drink too many Long Island iced teas either. No
Long Island iced teas
what
behind
you're
the wheel in Thunderdome there.
One of Dave Chalker's first games is the Long Island Iced Tea Project. And so, Dan, I'm sorry you're full of it. It was only 2.
I was really full of it anyway. I had no idea if there was any.
I thought you sold it.
It was nicely sold. It was nicely done.
No, I really thought that he knew that there were 2 with Long Island.
I'm traditionally a very good liar, and this is kind of probably how I've.
Oh wow,
that was a good bluff. But I thought
you sold it hard.
I was like, man, he knew there were 2. Wow, that's great.
All right. So what was the scoring on this then? If
so, Steve, you said he was wrong.
Yeah,
I'll get 2.
And you got 2 points. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Question number 2 goes to Steve.
Okay.
Are we ready, Steve? I mean, we're talking about Long Island iced tea, right?
Go for it. Yep.
So if we're talking about Long Island iced tea, we should continue with the subject. And you probably knew that the Long Island iced tea is a very powerful drink based on the jokes you were making, right?
Okay. From experience.
Yeah, long enjoyed by college co-eds everywhere. Long enjoyed by freshmen in college. I may have been one of those people.
Vaguely remembered by freshmen in college.
Vaguely remembered, yeah.
Next day.
Yeah, the famous bar in Baton Rouge called the Bengal. The Bingle, but we just pronounced it the Bengal. I don't know why. The Bengal. Mm-hmm. And they had the $1 Long Island iced tea nights, which were pretty rough. So, but did you know it gets its name not from the fact that it has tea in it? Because it doesn't. It gets its name from the color that resembles tea when they put enough Coca-Cola in there, right?
Right.
But did you?
There's so many things in it.
There's
yeah.
So many ingredients.
Pour enough liquid together, it becomes brown.
Yep.
But Steve, did you know that not one, but 2 different cities claim to be the birthplace of the Long Island iced tea? Long Island, New York, of course, and Long Island blank. Which state is it, Steve?
Long Island blank?
Long Island
I have
blank?
to guess what the state is that is the other one.
I'm making it easy on you.
You're making it easy on
There's
me.
only 49 choices, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say that I have, honestly, I am not a good liar. So I'm going to just try to puzzle this out and try to make it sound like it's got some sense to it.
Like where you're going.
New York has a long-standing rivalry with New Jersey. New Jersey has an awful lot of coastline there where there's barrier beaches and stuff. I'm going to say this is a New Jersey thing that is trying to steal it from New York, like they do things like the Giants, the Jets, etc., etc.
Mhm.
So it's Jersey that's the one. That is
I'll
trying
tell
to
you,
steal Long
I'll
Island
tell
Ice.
you, Dan Patrice, that is unflappable logic. I mean, that's
It is pretty
I
good
don't-
logic. I'll have to say he's full of it just because I have to hope that it's a different because I
I'm full of it. The question is, did I guess
I
correctly?
was gonna say, did he guess correctly? And you might have guessed correctly. I feel like I've heard this before, but I don't know what I would have said, whether it be Florida or Hawaii or somewhere maybe.
Florida's another good one.
But I'll say false. I'll say he's full of it.
okay. I'll give you a chance to change your mind because Steve had made a pretty persuasive argument about New Jersey stealing everything.
He did. I'll say it because I'll have to make up some points soon.
Okay.
Don't let him play you. I'm
All
wrong.
right.
He knows.
Which state is it? Well, I wish our friend from the Meepletown podcast were here because it's Long
Really?
Island, Tennessee.
Really?
Long Island, Tennessee.
How is it a landlocked?
A landlocked state.
The island is in the middle of the river. Yeah, just don't forget Paris, Ile de Paris, right? Has
Yeah, I guess
where
so.
Notre Dame is. It's in the middle of a river. Paris is not on the coast.
Wow.
Oh, so what's the point scoring now, Steve? What we got?
We're all tied up. Apparently, we're both full of it, and each of us knows it. So we're tied at 2.
That's right.
Question number 3 goes back to Dan. All right. So Dan, that Long Island, New York and Long Island, Tennessee both get their names because, well,
They're islands.
they're Long Islands, right? They're Long
Mhm.
Islands. But which island is longer?
Wow.
I'm gonna go with Long Island, New York, because that's a pretty long island, and I don't even remember there being an island in Tennessee. And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to think of how many miles Long Island actually is, because it takes you a few hours to get from Montauk, from the city out to Montauk.
Mhm.
It'll take you a good three hours, maybe even 4, depending on how you go. So I can't imagine there being an actual island in Tennessee being that long.
Steve, he said the
Dan-
magic
Dan
words.
is-
He didn't even know they had an island there.
But he's absolutely right. There is no way that Long Island in Tennessee, if it's in a river, is over 110 miles longer. That's Dan is right.
Oh man. Okay, I probably screwed up on this one because you guys know Long Island so well. So Long Island, New York is 118 miles long
Yeah.
and about 25 miles wide. It's pretty long. In either case, it's longer than Long Island, Tennessee, which at its longest is 4 miles long.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I'm not even joking about how long it would take you to get out to Montauk, and that's mostly because of traffic and how the windy way you got to go.
That's true.
The road system out there. Listen, I love Long Island. I'm from there. I never want to live there ever again, and it drives me crazy when I do visit. If I could just transplant all my family and friends down here, I would. Because I have fond memories of being there, but I wouldn't want to live there anymore between how expensive everything is and how crazy the traffic is. I have to go back there in a few weeks for a wedding, but I'm just glad that I'm only going there for like 3 days at most. Oh.
Yeah. That's where our game group is, and they all live in in Wantagh area, and I'm the only one who's up here. So when they have the game night, it's me driving down on a Friday
Right.
to go play.
And you
games
say
in
Wantagh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Wantagh. I used to work at Mulcahy's over there in Wantagh.
Okay. I
So,
know exactly.
Wait, so the neck is not on Long Island itself?
Nope. We are not.
Oh, okay.
We are not. We are north. We're in Westchester, so north of Long Island. You just go over the Throgs Neck, and you're on Long Island, or you're in Queens, who don't think they're part of Long Island.
Yeah, I used to, I worked at that bar. It's a big bar, BJ, on Long Island.
Yes, it is.
Mulcahy's, and
Mhm.
it was great I used to bar back and bartend out there, and a lot of times you get all the people that come from Jones Beach would come over there, and then depending on the time of year, you would get actually players from the Islanders and the Rangers would come there after
Mhm.
games because it's a big enough bar where there's enough dark space in the corner where they can hang out and nobody messes with them. But it was a fun time out there.
Did y'all serve Long Island iced teas, I guess?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive. People generally, a lot of times you change kind of the way you would make them at a bar like that because you're not putting as much alcohol, and plus one of those and people would be stumbling into walls and stuff. So you basically tell them that up front that it's not the way you would expect it, or some places would even have mixes where it's a little bit different.
It's a Long Island sweet tea. It is watered down and
It's watered down.
juice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all right, so our scoring.
If we both got it right.
So
Remind me of the scoring.
So you get a point if you agreed with Dan and he was right. You get 2 points if you disagreed with Dan and you were right. And he gets no point. So he doesn't get a point. He gets no point. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're only I see. All right.
Although for the next game, next time we do this, we may have to tweak that where the guesser also can earn a point, but we'll have to worry about that next one. Okay, so last question. This will decide for all the marbles. Yep.
And so it's worth 17 points?
It's worth however many points it takes for Dan to beat Steve. So last question. Question number 4, but I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Ever the Cylon. It can't be just a normal.
So it's about someplace called Short Island?
No. This one, in honor of Dan, in honor of a game that Dan has designed, we're going to do the Rankum game. So it's not just going to be a regular thing. So here's what I've got. I'm going to give it to
Adam Hill. I don't want to take his I don't want to take his thunder. I think this was something Adam Hill took from TikTok. So,
okay, that's right.
But yes.
So I'm going to give you 5 things, but I'm not going to give them all to you. I'm going to give them one at a time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
This is a blast. I love this. Go ahead. And Steve, you'll love this.
Dan, well, I was going to get Dan
to.
Terrible.
This is terrible. I love it, but it's terrible.
But Dan's going to rank them. So I did this backwards. Oh, man.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man, I messed that up. Okay. Could I fix this? I need Dan to rank these. Okay.
Well, if you want it as a rank 'em, we could both do it, and whoever gets the most right gets 2 points. Because isn't that the way we've done it in the past?
Or you can give them to me, and I'll write it.
You have to.
I can write them down, and then you write it down and see if you match what I. Because I'm gonna I'll be Scout's honor here, where I end up putting it.
We could do that. I'm fine with trusting you. I know we're both full of it, but I know we're both honest when we have to do it.
Absolutely. You think that'll work, BJ?
I think I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm going to play for Dan.
Doubling back
to score points.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay.
So this is how it's going to work. I've got the red die of fate. I've got 20 DC United movies. I'm going to roll the dice. So I don't even know what the 5 are going to be. I'm going to be learning as we go also. Dan, you're going to be rolling. Right. I mean, you're going to be knowing. So I'll give them to you. So this one, in the last time we played this, I obviously set it up. I would always leave a really tough choice at the end so that they were agonizing over. Yep. They wanted to leave the 5 blank. You know what I mean? They wanted to leave the 5 blank because they knew I would throw in a really terrible choice. But I didn't always do it because you had to kind of bluff. Okay, so this is what we'll do. Dan, you're going to rank them as I give them.
Okay.
Me and Steve are going to rank them as you give them secretly. And then me scoring for Dan and Steve scoring for himself will get a point if we exactly match Dan's choices. We have to exactly.
So you're going to write them down before I say it. Is that what you're going to do?
I'm going to call it out.
Right.
You're going to rank it in the 5.
Okay.
Steve and I are going to rank your choice in the 5, not ours. Your choice.
Where we think you're going to place it?
Where we think you're going to place it in the 5.
Before you say it out loud.
Right, before I say where I'm putting it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to tell us till the end. Right?
Oh, okay. Oh, so I'm going to put them down here and then you.
Yeah, don't tell us till the end.
That makes sense. Okay, cool.
Don't tell us till the end.
He still has to play it like a rank 'em, so he's going to hear the first one and have to rank it. Yep. And then not hear the okay, I got you. Yep. All right.
Cool. So now
we're playing at the same time, but Dan's playing quietly and doing a big reveal.
And I have to try not to give away my feelings on these things too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Now,
so Steve, BJ's you're all of a sudden playing and you're earning points.
I'm earning points for Dan.
You're earning points for.
Oh, yep.
I'm playing for Dan.
That's right. BJ knows me pretty well, so we'll see.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. So this is how we're going to do it, though, Steve. To make it spicy, you and I are going to announce our choices, of course, right? Because I think that's how we did it last time.
You give us the thumbs up when we're ready to talk.
But Dan won't tell us until the 5 are done, and then you'll tell us how close we got.
Once he's got them ranked, he can tell us.
Let me roll the dice here and see.
All right, cool.
All right, the first one is going to be Man, right off the bat. Suicide Squad, a DC movie from 2016. And
so that's the original Suicide Squad, not the new one.
Not the Suicide Squad.
Right.
It's Suicide Squad from
Okay.
2016.
Okay.
Where does Dan rank that?
Top of the list, 5 is bottom of the list, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, this is.
And these are all DC
universe movies.
Universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I may have done all DC just for Dan. Just for Dan.
That's my boy. Just for the Green Lantern right here.
All right. You got it?
Yeah, I have one.
All right. You want to go first?
Yeah, Dan, you got it ranked? You good?
Yeah, I got it ranked. Yeah.
Don't tell us what yours is.
No, I won't tell you where it is yet.
Steve, what you got?
I'll say 4.
Oh, I said 4 also. Dang it.
Okay. All right.
The next one, Blue Beetle.
Ooh.
2017, Blue Beetle.
Ooh.
Where does Dan put Blue Beetle? You know, I listen to Geek All Stars all the time. I should know exactly where you rank these. And there's no way I can remember. It's so many hours of content, man. What number are you up to now?
We're about to do 274.
274.
I think the next one is 274. It's going to be a good one. I'll mention it when we wrap up. I'll tell you what's going on next one. It's going to be a fun one.
All right, my turn to go first.
You rolled Blue Beetle?
I did. I rolled Blue Beetle.
All right, I've got it written down.
I'm going with number 5, Blue Beetle.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
what'd you do?
2.
Ooh, okay. So we have some disagreement here. Very good.
Yeah, we definitely do.
All right, here we go. You've got you had already locked it in, right, Dan?
Oh yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, I locked it in right away.
All right, next one, Dan, for you to lock in. Joker. That's the Joaquin Phoenix one from 2019. And you have to go first this time, Steve.
I do. Let me think about this here, because you know Dan better than I do.
We're talking 900 hours of content. I can't remember all 900 hours, man.
Don't worry, some of them are pretty forgettable, especially at the beginning. Some of those hours are pretty forgettable.
Well, I came in with the Kirkman stuff, so I never heard your previous co-hosts.
Yeah, that was fun. We actually found a bit of legs in the teens and stuff before people got married or went away to Antarctica, which is true. But it was a lot of fun with those guys.
All right. So you got it locked in.
And you put in more. You put out more episodes than the State of Games. That's for sure. Yeah, they're so irregular now. Or even what's the Motor City?
Oh, the Motor City podcast. That's
the once a year podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Their last podcast was really good though.
It was actually a really, especially if you stay all the way to the end. Like the last 10 minutes is probably the best part. So, all right, it's my turn. No, Steve, you got to go.
It's mine. You got it locked in.
I got it locked. Yeah, I locked mine right away.
I know I have done this poorly because I'm going to leave myself with good and bad, but I'm putting Joker at 3.
I'm Joker at 2. I'm taking a chance on that one. That's probably a terrible pick. Because there's one I'm leaving for number 1 if it'll come up. Let's see.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. You say you're leaving it for number 1, but it's got to be rolled.
It's got to be rolled. And I have 20 choices. So, all right. The first one is roll number 1. It came up. And it is Superman 1978 with Christopher Reeves.
Oh, man.
What are the odds? Okay. I'm going first on this one. So tell me when you locked in.
I'm locked in.
This is going to be terrible. I went with 3. Superman 1978. Number 3. What'd you go, Steve?
I would have put it number 1.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I was very tempted.
I did.
But I mean, what if the dice comes out with like a super great DC movie? Or is there a super great?
There's
DC
not
movie?
Really. There's only
there's not really. There's only one that I think might have gotten better than that in my opinion so far.
All right, I got to re-roll because I rolled a 9 again, so we can't do Suicide Squad twice. Let's see. Oh, The Batman with Robert Pattinson, 2022. Oh no! I'm totally hosed.
As far apart as we could be on that.
Totally
I've only got 5 left, and you've only got 1 left.
All right, how bad did we do, Dan? Oh my god!
I don't think we did well here.
I'll say this: Steve was almost perfect.
Really?
Wow.
Almost perfect.
Okay. Okay.
So, like you said, I couldn't take the chance of having the number 1 left over, so I put Superman at 1.
I was gonna do that,
but not a bad choice for that, because I absolutely love Christopher Reeves as Superman, and that movie's great. I think the kind of ending is a little cheese, but I think it's kind of on purpose.
Oh, completely.
But I love him as Superman. I'll be honest, the only change I would have made to the way my rankings came out is I would have put the Batman 2, but the Batman ended up at 3, and Blue Beetle is 2.
Oh, you really liked Blue Beetle?
I really liked Blue Beetle. I thought
Blue Beetle was supposed to be really good.
It has a lot of heart. I think they've got something there. I think what they could do now is, if they can get a good person for Booster Gold, they can find somebody funny, and you could get like a Chris Pratt for Booster Gold or something like that. And then they want to do like a HBO show for the Blue and the Gold, and you basically have a buddy cop movie of the same kid playing Blue Beetle and him playing Booster Gold, and that's gold. Yeah, it's just, that's what you want. And I think somebody like Gunn, what's his name?
James Gunn.
James Gunn. I think James Gunn. Yeah. James Gunn, now, since he's running the universe, I think he can pull that off and get the Blue and the Gold going, because I think they're supposed to be. I think that's kind of in production, like down the road.
Right.
You know, after they get this whole Lanterns thing going, you know, which apparently they've found their Green Lantern. Their Hal Jordan is the guy from Friday Night Lights.
Wait, are they bringing back Green Lantern?
Yeah, so they're going to do like, and that's basically going to be a buddy cop show where it's going to be more. It's not going to be very much, you know, not going to be very superhero heavy. It's basically like like True Detective as Green Lantern. So you're probably going to see, you know, different. You know, you're going to see Hal Jordan and some of the others do
Guy Gardner.
I think
Nathan Fillion is Guy Gardner, I think.
He is, and he's going to be. I think he's going to be in the series too. But he's Guy Gardner in Superman, the one that's coming out next year.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah. So my number 2 was Blue Beetle. My number 3 was The Batman, which I loved. The Batman. It's really good. It's a commitment, but he did a really good job with the tone and the feel and the story. I was very skeptical of Robert Pattinson, but they did a good job. The only thing that I would have loved them to kind of throw an Easter egg in, I don't know if you guys ever saw Titans. Did you guys watch Titans on Max? It's really good. It's all about Teen Titans, but it's very gritty. And they have their Tim Drake. So the Tim Drake Robin, that kid is actually in the Batman who plays from Titans. But it would have been a cool Easter egg, because he has a very small, very, very early on in the movie. It would have been very cool if he came back later, because what did you guys see the Batman?
I have not.
Okay, so there's something in the beginning where there's a kid that's part of this gang, and he kind of the gang's trying to get him to, you know, kill somebody or do something, and Batman breaks it up. So, sorry, spoilers. But and this kid doesn't do anything. He kind of like realizes what he's doing is wrong, and he runs. So it would have been cool if that kid, who is Tim Drake, comes back to be Tim Drake in the Batman. It would have been pretty cool to do. Anyway,
man, DC for me is like a whole. I haven't seen many of the movies. In fact, the last one I saw is the one where Luke Skywalker drinks the milk from the big hairy monster thing. I think that's the last DC movie I saw.
Well,
that's blue. That's not Blue Beetle, but that's Blue 2%.
Something.
Oh, that was the worst one of the sequels too. I'll tell you, got it, because that's from The Last Jedi, I think, isn't it?
That's Rian Johnson. Yeah.
Yep. So number 4 was Suicide Squad.
Oh, it was okay. Good.
Oh, I got a point.
Actually, yeah, 1 point on that one. Yep. Which I thought was okay. I didn't love, but I thought there was some pretty cool parts to it. But I thought it was decent. And number 5 is Joker by a mile. I refuse to like even give that movie credit. There's just something about, like, I love the good DC villains, but there's something about, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have to watch it to understand, but there's something about making him such a positive. I don't want to say positive, but he's still the protagonist of the movie. I have a problem with Joker being a protagonist. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a pure DC guy, I'm such a big superhero guy. I have a problem with that, so I just haven't watched it.
But wouldn't you say that? I mean, in the Heath Ledger, would you say that they were kind of co-stars in that? I mean, would he have been?
Well,
No,
so
it's not
No,
Heath
no,
Ledger.
I know I'm not talking about that,
Right,
but
right.
I'm just saying about Joker as protagonist. I would have said that in the Heath Ledger one, that Batman and Joker were equally top billing.
He
that
wasn't
they
the
were like,
protagonist.
which
though.
I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
But he wasn't like you weren't supposed to be
you
rooting
weren't
for
supposed to
Heath
be
Ledger.
rooting for. I got
Yes.
you.
I feel
See,
like
my
in
problem
Joker,
with-
you're supposed to be rooting for Joaquin Phoenix.
I understand what you're saying with that.
Yeah.
That
So
was a tough one because I had to put Joker was at that time. I had Joker left in the middle, and I knew I had to leave room for something that was going to suck harder.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put it at 5.
and it's hard because everybody there's a lot of people that love Joker. And I'm just not in that crew.
But it's not. Like it's not like it's definitely not canon.
Mm-hmm.
But it is such a well-established character with an identity that to do an alternate version of it is very odd to me.
I wish I had
Like
stuck to my
having-
guns. So I did Suicide Squad was the very first choice right there at 4. And
Yep.
I thought that Superman would have been one of your top choices, if nothing else for nostalgia, you know.
Yeah.
I wish I'd stuck to my guns.
Yeah.
Because then the other ones might have fallen into place, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Did you guys see that flash behind me? I think I saw the flash, a big old storm.
Yeah, we
was
did
big-
see it. Yeah, big lightning flash.
Yeah.
So what was the final score, Steve? I know I didn't help him.
If you were playing for Dan,
Yep.
you just added 1 to Dan because you got Suicide Squad. But I
Yep.
think I added 3 to myself.
Mhm.
So that's gonna mean I think I got you.
Steve is the big winner of
Right.
the Frankenstein game.
I love the rank. I love that rankum game. It's so much fun. I need
Well,
to
it should
figure
be
out a way to come up
It should be called Rankenstein. 'Cause That's
Frankenstein.
essentially what it is.
Dan, we've actually played Rankum now 2 or 3 times just as by itself as a game, and we have a blast with it every time. The key to me is coming up with these really wild categories. It has to be stuff that people are like, "Oh my god, how do I slot these?" You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to do it, to have like a list of 20 and just roll it out, you know.
Well, in the other versions, I think I had texted you and I texted Andrew and I texted other people. So I was getting these Alex Goldsmith. I was getting people to give us their 5. But this was actually fun with the dice because I never get to play. So this way I actually got to play, which was
That's
fun.
cool.
Yeah, I like it.
So that is good.
BJ,
All right,
next time you're on a Geek All Stars, I'll try to make a special one for you. I'll try to come up with a
If
good
you
rank.
do a Disney one, I can get Meepletown guys to
Oh
get,
yeah, you
me
absolutely
and Dean. We can
that.
do me and Dean and jump on the show and
completely
do some
agree.
Disney rides, top Disney rides of all time, Disney attractions. It'd be a tough one. Do you know your Disney parks well enough, Dan?
No, I only know I've only been to the one. I've only been to the one in Florida, in Disney World.
Well, your streak might be over because you've won like the last 2 or 3. You won the movie draft, that's for sure.
Actually, so the last 2 drafts I lost. I would have tied the last one, but Riddle said he was going to vote for me and missed out. So Marty beat me. So
didn't you win the movie draft this year? The summer.
Oh, the
summer
movie draft. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, the movie draft. Yeah, I did win the last 2 movie drafts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you were talking about the drafts on our show.
Well, that's the Did You Know game, Frank, with the Frank and what do we call it? Frankenstein version of it. Presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. You can still check in. Berkey's still sending emails saying, hey, you can still late pledge if you want to and get some of those fabulous deals. And Dan, you love those Game Toppers LLC too.
I love the mats, man. I can't stop talking. David makes fun of me all the time because I can't stop talking about the play mats, how great they are.
Yeah.
All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank Dan Patriss of the Geek All Stars for coming in. I've got the webpage up there, Gamers for Cures. Tell everybody what they can do to help you out with the Turner Syndrome Society.
I'll link up again. I just dropped it back in the chat.
Yep, I'll get that done.
You just head to gamersforcures.com. If you want to donate, you can use the QR code right there. And like I said earlier, you could print out your tax receipt right there for all tax. All donations are tax deductible. Or if you wait another month, it wouldn't be necessarily donations tax deductible. But if you want to get in on the wall donations to get the raffles for the wall, that should be up at the end of October, early November. I will have a link on, of course, gamersforcures.com when it is live, because I know a lot of people love to get the raffle tickets for there. But every dollar counts to help for. We help to put on continuing education for to help spread different information for Turner syndrome, and we help put on help some of the girls in the North Carolina area and the U.S. With Turner syndrome as well. That's where all the money proceeds go to Turner syndrome of the Carolinas and of the U.S.
Dan, if they have any questions, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can either hit me up on Twitter at Geek Jock Dan, or actually if you want to send a message to Gamers for Cures on Twitter as well, or you can just email me at gamersforcures@gmail.com. I'll respond to that. And if you want to mail me at the Geek All Stars at gmail.com, whatever's easier for you to remember, I'll respond to all those areas for any questions that you may have.
What's coming up next on the Geek All Stars?
So in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a cool crew. So it should be myself, Riddle, Justin, and Marty, and we're going to have a draft on there, and we're going to be drafting arcade games from the 80s, from the arcade cabinets from the 80s and 90s.
The big cabinets.
Yep, we're going to be drafting what our favorite ones are, and we'll see who has the best team, and we'll let the listeners vote on it.
I don't even think there's a Reese's there because there's so many. Oh,
There's
Steve
so
might
many
not know what a
things.
Reese's is. Tell him what.
So the very first draft we ever had was Halloween candy, and so basically we knew anybody that drafted Reese's was going to win that draft, and that's what happened.
Yes.
So we called,
Correctly so, absolutely right.
absolutely. So we call that the Reese's of any draft is if you're picked the one pick, and it's very rare.
Yeah.
Rill always tells me that there's no Reese's. Like I always think there's a Reese's, but there's not of a lot of things. But sometimes you really think there is that one thing of that category.
Yeah.
If you get it, you're going to win.
That would be tough on the consoles because I can think of 4 or 5 that were just huge growing up.
And basically, these are the coin-operated arcade games that we grew up with, and it's got to be from before 2000 because, man, I don't think I've ever been to an arcade, and who the heck knows? And they're just so much different nowadays. So we're going to try to keep it from pre-2000. So it's
they're called casinos. They're called casinos now.
Yeah, exactly. Is Aladdin's Castle still a thing? I probably not. Huh? Those things are all closed by now, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of times you have the with Dave and Buster's actually.
Dave and Buster's, yeah.
Actually, the big thing now that I love to see is every major city seems to have one of these kind of dive bars that has a million of these. Yeah, they're barcades where you just pay one price when you get in and you can just play anything. That's what I want to see. I don't want to be paying $1 to play a game anymore.
No, you're right. Barcades are the thing. Yeah, there was an Aladdin's Castle in every mall growing up in the 80s and 90s, but I think all of those things are closed now. Dave and Buster's, they all closed.
When you draft them, you go 4 deep and a snake draft.
Yep.
With it,
we go 4 rounds in a snake draft, and I basically do a secret way of coming up with the, I email 2 of the guys and I come up with a randomized order, and then usually we call the 4th round kind of like you try not to, we call it danning yourself in a draft when you draft something that makes you lose. We call that when you dan yourself because I've done it so many times. So we kind of made that 4th round kind of like the heart round where you try not to hold it against somebody because you always pick like your favorite thing of that category.
Exactly.
In the 4th round.
You've got
to hold it against you.
It's really the first 3 choices are the logical picks, and the 4th choice is always like kind of out of the box.
Your Mr. Irrelevant in the draft is going to be your personal choice.
You'll see some really wild choices, but that's what the fun about it because people will usually have some kind of story attached to that 4th pick. So.
And you just Riddle's famous for saying nobody knows nothing about nothing when it comes to like Kickstarter, because you see some Kickstarters that make $1 billion and some that make 30,000. You're like, how does that even happen? So it's the same thing with drafts because you think you're drafting something to get votes from the listeners or from each other. But all of a sudden, like you think that something's good, and it turns out nobody likes the thing. Like a perfect example is I would have never thought that the Polar Express was as polarizing as it is. No pun intended. So many people hate the Polar Express, and I love the Polar Express, but it's amazing how many people hate the Polar. You
picked that as a Christmas movie, and you're going to come out last because it's a very polarizing movie.
You've lost half of the people, and you better hold the other half.
The Reese's is clearly Die Hard. I mean, y'all should have eliminated Die Hard.
I'm trying to remember of that draft. I would have to, we can look at this after show, but I was trying to remember that draft because I think Keith Ferguson, who did Santa's Workshop, which you should buy for this Christmas season. Santa's Workshop, right here. The new version. You have the new version?
Yep.
Excellent.
I got the new version
from what was Elf Creek Games?
Elf Creek Games, yeah.
So definitely check that out. The new version is
no offense to Keith. I don't like the base game though. I like the upgraded one with the reindeer powers and all that.
I think the first one is fine. It's very light game, except the reindeers were used like they were useless. That's why they changed them. But I think Keith drafted all like non-normal Christmas movies. So he purposely went for like the Die Hard and then other things that you were like, is that really a Christmas movie? But I don't think he won. He got a couple of votes for doing it that way. But that was we have so much fun that it's becoming hard to come up with draft ideas because you got to remember you're trying to do 4 rounds and keep it entertaining and not have that drop off. So it's but it's fun. And occasionally we do a drafted episode where we'll have 4 people on. We'll do 4 drafts and a couple of them more where we'll even do usually we do a 5th one that's a lightning round where it's just 2 rounds.
I said it wrong, Steve. Rankum is Adam Hills. Dan's is the ranked game. I mean the drafted game. I had it all messed up. Sorry about that. Yeah, the drafted game. I forgot about that. And that's coming out from 25th. That's coming out from 25th Century next month, right? On Kickstarter.
That would be nice if that other company that I can't remember who it is. I don't want to say they stole our idea, but it's awfully convenient for drafted that's in Target right now.
Very. Yeah, that's right. Actually, you and I were texting about it, how close that game was to the original idea that you guys talked about.
Oh yeah, that we were pitching around to a lot of different publishers and stuff.
If only your co-designer knew a publisher.
Yeah, exactly.
If only your co-designer owned a publishing company. Oh wait, he does. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a shame you're not more well connected there.
That's right.
All right, make sure to like our Facebook
within
page.
the industry.
Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and our YouTube channel. Helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming shows. And next week, Dan, just for you, we're going to be playing Homebrewers from Dice Hate Me Games right there on twitch.tv/BoardGameGumbo, where on Tuesday nights we play your games live on TV. So check that out every other Tuesday night.
Such a great game. That is an amazing game.
I want to thank Dan for coming in. And Steve, this was a great show. We had a lot of fun. Dan, Dan moves up to top 3 easiest guest of all time, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's
I love you guys. Thank you
very
much.
the easiest guest. Hey, Dan,
plug and play.
5 days ago. Hey, Dan, Mike Delisio can't make it. Can you jump in? Absolutely. Great. We could do a 5-hour show if we wanted to, man.
That's all right.
I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo. And until next time, laissez les bon temps rouler.
Bye.